All right, peeps. COVID cabal. COVID cabal. I know it's been a while. A couple days. Couple days. I know it's been a while. Wow, here's guys. I haven't been not only doing anything with my beard, but I haven't been doing anything with my hair. So it's getting like super nuts right now. After the solstice, it's getting all trimmed up. Gonna get all this stuff trimmed up. It's the playoff beard. You guys got it. It's the playoff beard. Also, I got to get that big beard energy. I got to channel that energy for all the stuff that's coming. Guys, it's are you ready? Are you ready? We've been so patient. We've been so patient. What will I do if Trump loses? Uh-oh, is this a troll? Did we get a troll here? Did we get a troll here, guys? What am I going to do if Trump loses? All right, you know what? I'm going to tell you guys. I'm going to tell you guys what I'm going to do if Trump loses. Okay? Let's just entertain a non-existent possibility. Okay? Let's entertain it. I'm going to do what I was going to do anyway, which is go to Poland, and I will do my best to. I mean, I guess we have to see what everybody else does, right? We'd have to see what everybody else does. If there's a worldwide uprising, and that's the thing, like, when I try to answer these questions, it's like I have to answer these questions from a completely like ridiculous, like hypothetical situation that doesn't exist. Because I'd have to then say, well, are you saying that Trump doesn't win and then we go into civil war and we fight to kind of overthrow the cabal? Do we do that? Or are you talking about that Trump doesn't win and everybody gives up and just accepts the Great Reset? Two very different options. If it's the former, then I fight, right? Then I fight. I fight with the rest of people, and that's what happens. Ah, Salmon's here. We got it now. Now we can start. And but if everybody gives up, then I'm just checking out, guys. I'm checking out. Moving to Poland. Maybe we got our apartment. You know, maybe try to head up to the mountains more and more. Wait out the end of it. Accept defeat, right? Accept it, because at that point everybody's given up. If everybody's given up, then I'm just ready to leave this prison planet, and you guys can fucking deal with it. But guys, Lublin. I know you Brits. You Brits are always going to Krakow. You always going to Krakow, getting shit faced, picking up girls. I see that. I almost got into a fight with a Brit out there. I think he was maybe he was a Scouser. I think he was from Liverpool. But yeah, there are better places than Krakow. Krakow is kind of, for the ones that want to just get a cheap plane ride over and do a stag do, But guys, there's no point talking about what will I do if Trump loses. There's no point talking about it because it's not a reality. It's not a reality. I don't even like really give a fuck about considering the possibility of it, because I understand what's coming. I understand what's coming. I understand the energy. You guys can all see the energy now. You can see how it's building. You can see little by little the drip, drip, drip. And we're going to talk about all this stuff. But, I think a lot of people ask this question because they think about it from the standpoint of what are you going to do about your bets, Patrick? Patrick, what are you going to do about your bets? We're at what? Guys, guess what we're at? What are we at right now? What are we at? Do you guys know what we're at right now? What are we at? You guys figure out? You guys guess what I'm at right now with my exposure? 220. 220. Yeah. 220. I might get to 225. Might get to 225. Yeah. Yep. And getting some really good stuff on these recent odds. About half that's on the recent odds. So really good stuff. Really good stuff. Salmon, you're always trying to one up me. You amogging me here in the chat? You amogging me, bro? Here's the thing. So what happens? Okay, what happens if we lose? What happens? We lose. Okay. Trump loses, we lose the money. So what? So what? Back to work, right? Back to work. Like, I don't know. Obviously, I don't want to lose that much money. It would be devastating. But here's the thing, guys. Ask yourself this. Think about this for a second. If you were given an opportunity, a better than even chance, right? Or even just let's say an even chance of changing your life forever, completely changing your life forever, okay, with taking that risk. And you have odds that are disproportionately rewarding for what the situation is, you take it. Because I can tell you this that the whatever $200,000 in savings that I'll lose, but if I do this, I'll lose that, okay? Whatever. I can rebuild that. I can rebuild those savings, but the difference between that and nearly like, 1.5 million take home, something like that. I mean, that's a very different beast, right? It's a very, very different beast. Because once you get into that much money behind, plus all the reputational benefits. So guys, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's a smart bet. People don't get it because they don't see it. If you saw it, you'd understand. But we're gonna talk a lot about that stuff. Let's do the wine. Okay. It's an asymmetric bet. Let's talk about the wine though. So last time we just did some very simple stuff. We did a Cesanese, right? We just did a little Italian white wine from Lazio, and we did Trebbiano. We did a Abruzzo, okay, and a little bit north of here is where Montepulciano d'Abruzzo is grown, and so we did stuff over there, right? Now we are moving into Campania. We're gonna circle around the board here, okay? We're gonna circle around back up to north, but we're doing Campania now. Campania. This is one of the sick areas. This is some of the best wine in all of Italy, and certainly some of the best wine in all of southern Italy. So next time we're going to be doing the whites, Fiano di Avellino and Greco di Tufo. But this time, guys, we are doing Taurasi. Okay? Taurasi. This is a really nice bottle of wine. This is like easily $50-something bottle. And we got an Irpinia Aglianico. Okay? Irpinia is just simply the same area. Okay? It's just the same. It's Avellino. Avellino's Irpinia. Okay? And this whole thing right here, it's the Aglianico grape. So basically what we're seeing here is we're seeing a basic Aglianico and we're seeing the special Aglianico, which is grown on Taurasi, this big old mountain, right? This big old mountain. And the grapes here, they need so long to ripen. Montepulciano it can only be grown in southern Italy because it just takes too long of a time to ripen, guys. Some grapes, they need a hotter climate. Aglianico does southern Italy, can't do north. Okay, can't do north. Taurasi, it gets incredibly good acidity. Phenomenal stuff. But they have to leave it ripening for so long, they often pick it in the snow. So I haven't had a Taurasi in ages. We're going to be doing, I kind of wanted to do it tonight, but I kind of wanted to do like this one as well. The next one, we'll be doing 2 down, Aglianico del Volture. Because that's where my family's from, my Italian family's from Basilicata. But these Taurasi and Aglianico del Volture tend to rival each other. People tend to favor Taurasi, but... So anyway, let's try this stuff out. So this Irpinia is very thin, actually. I'm not as excited about it as I thought it would be. I think it needs to open up a little bit more, to be honest. It needs to open up a little bit. But it's a little bit thin, guys. It's about a $20 bottle of wine. I don't know. I want more flavor. I want more flavor for that. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's a little woody. But the Taurasi, let's just stick to the good stuff, all right? Oh my God. This is so good. This smells like an Amarone. This is like, I can't even tell you guys just how rich and intense this smells. Absolutely incredible. Holy crap. I haven't even tasted it yet. Now, see, interesting. It's good on the palate. It's got a lot of butterscotch, but it's not as I love the texture. It's got almost like like it's kind of weird to describe. It's creamy. It's like a creamy texture. Um, but it's really like you don't get as much flavor as you would have thought. So on the nose, it smells like a Tarazi. It's got all this tertiary, like because it's 2007, it's aged. All of these complex flavors are coming out. On the palate, though, it's just not quite there yet. It's not quite there yet. I don't know if it needs more time to open. I only opened it 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago. It's an excellent wine, but you're almost expecting like a bigger punch from it. But I have to say, I like high acidity wines. This is a high acid wine, and I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about the Taurasi. It probably is just a little bit. Probably just needs a little bit more time. The red we had last time, the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, was very good after 2 days of being vacuumated. And sometimes, guys, that's the case with wine. Sometimes it actually gets better after you open it and leave it out for a bit because it just needs more air. Salman, I have not had any wine from Saudi Arabia. I don't know if you're I don't know if have you had any wine from Saudi Arabia? I think it's I've heard it's good, but I haven't tried it myself. I have had wine from Morocco. I got the worst headache of my life having Moroccan wine. Worst headache of my life. I was 20 years old. I found it. I was at Fez, which is a very religious city in Morocco. Very difficult to find, and I wasn't really drinking there for the most part. But Morocco has a lot of French culture, and frankly, it's a good climate to grow wine. So a lot of French companies have gone down there to basically take over vineyards. But I've taken some solid bottles there. They're all right. But the one I got at this place, so this is a really religious city. They didn't really have a Ville Nouvelle, which is that's the French quarter of the city. So usually, all of these cities in the former French colonies, like Syria, Lebanon, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, they'll have what's called a Ville Nouvelle, which is new city. It's French, and this area is pretty much European. It's pretty much European. It's quite small. Depends on the city. Some are bigger than others. And then you have next to it the Medina, which is a very more Arabic section. Now, and of course, the French don't live there anymore for the most part, but many Moroccans are Frenchized, I guess you can say, and they're upper class and they speak French fluently, and so they prefer more European style. The Medina is really like the old school stuff. Fez, however, is a very religious city and very tiny Ville Nouvelle, arguably non-existent, and extremely massive Medina bazaar. It's a whole other story about getting lost in that and having to avoid getting robbed multiple times. I had a fun time there, but I remember like I had met somebody. I don't remember exactly who I was with. I probably met somebody, and so it's a roast. And I was looking for alcohol with some friends. I'd barely drank the entire trip pretty much, and we ended up going down this back alley, and they were roasting rats on a spigot. They were roasting rats on a spigot. It was really disgusting. It was like you could tell this was like the outcast of the society in Fez. And we went down this back alley, and then we found what literally looked like a wooden cabinet. And on the wooden cabinet, they had some alcohol, and they had like Heineken, and they had wine, but it was wine that like in a plastic container, and you had a little like aluminum foil wrapper. And so I got that wine. I had that wine, and I had the worst hangover of my life. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. So very strange. I had a lot of strange stories in Morocco. But guys, let's get to the COVID cabal portion of this. Let's get to some of the good stuff here. Let's get to some of the good stuff here. So, what's been going on here? Okay, we got the usual antics. Let's just go through it. Judge throws out the next case in Michigan. This is their new way of not being able to deal with election fraud. Is that, well, you can't bring a case before the crime's committed because you don't have standing. But then after the crime's been committed, well, we can't do anything about it. You should have come to us beforehand. And it's their usual doublespeak, and people have been making these, great analogies, right? About how it's like, someone, this person murdered somebody else. Well, you should have come before you killed the victim, right? It's one of these things like you want to have a pre-crime unit. They want us to go into Minority Report. So it's the usual stuff, but it doesn't matter, guys. It's going to the Supreme Court. It's going to the Supreme Court. Now, there's all these little details people have been talking about with what are they going to do in the Supreme Court. What's the whole thing with the dates, the safe harbor deadline. I would encourage you guys, I mean this, and I know that's not everything that you guys want to hear. Paul Ferber has gone dark 4 days ago. I was wondering about that. I know it's not what you guys want to hear, but I would encourage you to detach more from the 3D. Okay, detach a little bit more from the 3D because there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise. I mean, I'll dip in to try to find these things out, but when we come down to this judge didn't say this, how are they going to make this happen? How is Trump going to? I mean, we know Trump has the goods, and we as the people have now seen the fraud. I think that probably the biggest news is what's happened in Georgia recently. The biggest news, what happened in Georgia, is that we've got now proof, forensic proof, about the fact that I think, what was the county? I have it down here. Ware County, Georgia. They may have changed the algorithm per state, but Ware County, Georgia, if you put ballots into the machine, you would consistently get 87% for Trump, 113% for Biden. Automatic. They would take 13% and give it to Biden. 13% from Trump, give it to Biden. They did all these tests on it with, 100 Trump ballots, 100 Biden ballots. It always came out the same. So we have this stuff. So people shouldn't worry about this. I don't even know why people are panicking anymore. It's like, well, how is it going to go about through the proper channels? There are far too many people who are aware of this stuff now. And I know that we're really plugged in. And so maybe you think that not everybody is really plugged in with it. Not everybody knows it. But I want it to really be asserted that Trump won the election. So we tend to think for ourselves that we're in the minority because we know the truth. And it may be true still that we are in the minority of believers, but an overwhelming majority actually voted for Trump. Okay? We cannot forget that. We cannot forget that. There are far more people who support us when we get this stuff to the point that it has to get to in terms of when the information hits a critical mass. More and more of those people are being convinced about the fraud every single day. And Trump's a showman. I know you guys wished that we were, I know Salmon doesn't want to wait anymore for this stuff, but we would be at the position now where we had everything taken care of and Trump was killing it. But that's not how it works. Top to bottom, corruption in the system needs to be exposed, and it's happening. Salmon's going to arrest Biden. It's happening. This entire time, Salmon's General Flynn. He's going to arrest Biden. Seriously, this stuff is going to happen. It's going to happen. And you heard Trump today saying that we're going to have a lot of stuff happening these next couple of days. A lot of stuff happening these next couple of days. And we know it's going to happen. Okay? So, 14th, Trump's going to win the Electoral College. Now, maybe there's something that pushes it back a couple of days. Maybe. But I want you guys to know, and I want to say this with the bets too. This is another thing for Salmon. Right? Don't worry about the bets because the same energy that supports, I know it's 3D versus 5D, but the same energy that supports Trump winning doesn't support us losing. Okay? It doesn't. With a lot of detailed, especially when you get more granular, you start to lose. And I've encouraged people. I've had a couple of these lost. Although, to be fair to me, I was just trying to make as much as I could unpredict it. Now that I have other options, that's a different story. But the stuff unpredicted, I had to like bet on some sort of random things, and they fuck around with all this stuff. But the big fundamental one, Trump winning, if you can key into the most precise point, then you're not going to get fucked because they can't fuck with that. They can't fuck with that fundamentally. It's too big. It's too big of a thing. It's too part of the energy field. So if you say, okay, Pennsylvania margin of victory, I don't know what they're going to do unpredicted about that, because if SCOTUS throws out all the absentee ballots, then yeah, Trump wins by 300,000 plus votes, which is the bet. But if they don't, if they just delegitimize it and it becomes, they go to the 12th Amendment and every state votes by their congressional delegation, it's a different story. So here's the whole point here. The whole point here is that we're going to be good with the bets. Don't stress about it. I've really tried to check myself with this, because it's like I should feel more afraid. I should feel more afraid about this stuff if it was actually a negative. And things like Betfair, I mean, Betfair tell you quite clearly. Betfair quite clearly tells you that they are waiting until the congressional. They're waiting for the Electoral College victory, and they also said that if it gets pushed back, they push it back. So there's always the military option, but I don't. You see so much involvement from SCOTUS. You see so much involvement from SCOTUS in this stuff that we are. There's not a chance we're going to lose it. The real question comes down to, is Alito in the Republican court, right? Are they going to simply invalidate Pennsylvania's votes, or are they going to throw out the absentee ballots, or are they going to do something in between where they throw out the ballots that came in after the third? Personally, I feel like the most likely option is that last one, that they'll go for some sort of compromise thing where, okay, yes, you did break state law. You did break state law by allowing all these absentee ballots, but we're only going to throw out the ones that happened after the election. And actually, it could be that was the state law. I think that the state law actually was that they had to be received by 8 p.m. Yeah, they didn't separate the ballots. So, I mean, we know we won Pennsylvania because they broke a Supreme Court order. They broke a fucking Supreme Court order. Like, they don't win that. They don't win that. But the judges that we've been seeing that have been spitting in our faces have been state judges, guys. They've been state judges. For the most part, they've been state judges. It's the federal courts. It's the federal courts that we've got, and we've got SCOTUS. We got the 5-4. So we've talked about this before. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Trump wins in SCOTUS. What they do with it, how they do it, the details are not really relevant. But he wins in SCOTUS, and then they're going to do their little insurrection. I don't know if Trump does his own, military release of the information later in the week. But things are happening. Things are moving fast, guys. And I really do think, that the real clincher is going to be tomorrow after the Supreme Court onward. Remember, we also have Ted Cruz. He could be the one who's speaking on behalf of these things. I don't know. There have been probably some local elections that haven't had fraud. I have no inside information. We got some more stuff here, right? We have DeKalb County was asked. DeKalb County is like Atlanta, basically. 200,000 absentee ballots. They have no chain of custody. In every single other county in Georgia, because basically what happened in Georgia is you had Dominion Software changing votes, and then you had predominantly just in DeKalb County, they just stuff in ballot boxes, right? Same thing that happened in Wayne County, which is Detroit. Same thing that happened in Philadelphia. Okay? Same thing happened in Milwaukee. But they don't have any chain of custody records. And when asked about this, they brought an attorney. They brought an attorney in. The attorney was the one who answered. So look, I'm going to keep telling you guys, I'm going to keep saying it. They're not going to win. I know a big thing we didn't talk about before, which was pretty big. And guys, I wish I could have come. I was at dinner with Dr. Ralph, and it's my last weekend in New York before the baby. So I had to enjoy myself. My wife and I had to have a nice little night out. Um, guys, I was in New York for almost 6 years. It'll be 6 years by the end of my lease. We moved in January 2015. And so it's been, this last year's been a half and half kind of experience, but yeah, it's not tough. I won't say it's tough because I'm pretty good with change, but it's time to move on. It's really great. It's a really traditional place. And Ralph's amazing. Ralph's amazing. Arthur Avenue in the Bronx is a really historic. Um, it's a really historic neighborhood. Really historic neighborhood. It's in the Bronx, yeah, very far north. It's actually quite a trip from Manhattan, but Arthur Avenue probably has the last of the real Italian energy, and it's dissipating as well. Yeah, a lot of Albanian stuff there now. Yeah, they're Albanians tend to take over Italian neighborhoods because most of the Albanian immigrants are actually Catholic, and Albania, as you guys know, is an Italian colony. So in South Jersey, for instance, probably a third of the Italian restaurants, half maybe, are Albanian owned with Mexican chefs. It's kind of the American thing. So, so guys, but the one thing that we missed on Saturday, and I wish I could have talked about it, but was the event that we saw happen Friday night, which was Kemp's daughter's boyfriend getting assassinated. Getting assassinated, right? Very tragic situation. Um, who knows exactly what was going on here? Was that guy a mole? Did they find out that he was a mole? Was he the one? Was he putting some pressure on? He was a staffer for Loeffler. Apparently, also for at some point Purdue. It's very incestuous. Maybe he was a mole. Maybe he was a mole. Maybe he wasn't a mole, and it was just a sign to Kemp from the Cabal that you were not able to, don't even think about backtracking on this stuff. Shot across the bow, killing a child's significant other, especially when they're just dating, is a very good move from a pressure standpoint because it's an attack on your family without actually hitting your family. So it's like it's a real indication that yeah, we could hit your family, but we're not. I didn't take away things that is most precious for you, but here's how you know that I'm not bluffing that I could. So I mean, what are we supposed to say about this stuff, though? I don't give a like. I have to say, guys. Maybe I'm a bad person for saying this. I don't give a fuck. Unless he was a mole, unless he was an agent, unless he was on our side, unless he was good stuff, unless he was ratted out. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if he was fucking the corrupt governor's daughter, and that he's been involved with the corrupt two senators. Because let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest. The two senators are not so great themselves. Okay, they're not so great themselves. I was always very suspicious of Kelly Loeffler. When I found out, she's this skinny blonde with no kids that's worth 150 million, I was like, what the fuck does she do for a good time? What's the point of her existence? What's the point of her existence? She's just out to make tons and tons. What is she doing? What is she doing? Serving a different master. I was never really so excited about it. I just assumed she was a hack vote, though. I didn't go so far as predict that she was inside all this stuff herself, which was naive in hindsight. We're all learning here. That's the thing. It's like even when you know that there's tons of corruption, you don't understand the degree of the corruption. It's just out of control. Out of control. But guys, it's a big week ahead. I mean, what can we say here? What can we say here that we haven't already said? What can we say? We're winning. They're afraid. We have Biden walking around. You mentioned earlier checking out his tombstone. We got Biden pull a dog's tail. Joe Biden walking around without his boot. there's not anything to say at this point, which is why when people are like, "Oh, you're coping, you don't know what's going on," it's time to just sit back and watch. We've been watching the movie, and there's been parts of the movie where we're like, "What happened here?" And we're like, "Pause it, and we'll talk about it." We're at the part of the movie where it's almost like we just gotta watch. We just gotta watch. But I want to tell you guys something real quick. So the 5D stuff, there's a lot of people like Magenta, Laura Eisenhower. I love them. I love them. They're my two favorite ladies. Lori Lodd, however, I don't really watch a lot of her stuff, but Lori Lodd did a very good job of explaining the difference between 3D and 5D. There's a lot of people in the spirituality community who are just fucking retarded, and maybe corrupted even. I mean, every group's been infiltrated, and they talk about 5D like it's going to be this big cataclysm, and you're going to be, some people are going to ascend and some are going to die and be swept away, and it's all ridiculous. It's a complete 3D program, because it's like, yeah, everybody, like half the people you love will be killed and separated from you. It's like not at all, not at all a reality. 5D it's a difference of perception, guys. Earth is the same. There's some arguments to be made that Magenta talks about this, and I don't really know to what extent. I don't know to what extent this is metaphor versus reality, but the fact that the core of the Earth is changing from iron to crystal, um, which, by the way, there's some indications that some of these pillars that have been shot into the ground, right? We had some of them. The one in Utah was like apparently some artistic group, but there was like a crystal one that was found on the Isle of Wight, I think. There's more of these little crystal cylinders being found in a lot of places. So I don't know if they're ET related things. Probably they are. I've heard that they're ETs trying to check for the sort of configuration of the planet Earth to see how the configuration's changing. I don't know where the 5D terminology came from, to be honest. They use 3D because 3D is considered to be the highest density. So I'll give you guys a little bit of a basis point for these dimensions. It's kind of complicated, and again, terminology, discard it, may not be perfectly suited for the situation. But 1D is just mathematics. It's mathematics. It's numbers. 1D is mathematics. 2D is where you start to go into imaginary numbers, which is a separate part of mathematics. Um, I don't entirely understand how those two things are connected, but imaginary numbers are relevant towards the creation of reality. Those two things, when you get to the third dimension, then um, you start to hit what we have on the basic level, which is 3D density. We hit 3D density. But when the people who are describing 5D, they're not describing it exactly in the same way that we think about it. Because from a physical perspective, we're probably still in 3D. They're talking about it from a consciousness perspective. So they use 3D basically as fear consciousness, and 5D is love consciousness, and 4D is um, somewhere between the separation, the divergence past 3. So Salmon's a mathematician, and it sounds like he is, actually. It sounds like he understands this stuff. Probably was an engineer or something like that. But yeah, I'm not. So they use the term 5D. My interpretation of it, from what I've indulged, is that 5D is if you look at the Hawking scale of consciousness, 5D is 500 plus. In my interpretation, it's 4D is 200 plus, and 3D is everything beneath. Yeah, that would be upper 4D, Jackson. It would be upper 4D. Lower 4D would be sort of basic courage. But you could say from a functional perspective that it is actually what you say, that it's mostly rational stuff. You also have stuff when you start to talk about the different realms, the celestial realm is 5D, whereas the astral realm is more 4D. Scott Adams 40. But Scott Adams has been good. I'm not crapping on Scott Adams. Scott Adams has been good. Scott's surprised me because he has not really fluctuated much at all on here. He hasn't been a fair weather friend. I'll tell you that much. Not a fair weather friend. Thank you. My father's library. I grew up in here. So my peeps, 5D consciousness is a different way of perceiving the world. So let's talk a bit more about this. So if you are in 3D consciousness, your primary way of looking at the world is going to be based on fear. Okay, now fear manifests itself in different ways. Fear can manifest itself from a sense that, like, nothing's going to get better, everything's going to get worse. I see all these people all the time, alleged Trump supporters who are in a 3D consciousness. They're in survival mode. Yeah, they think everything's going to get bad. They always think things are going to get bad. They're the ones who can't imagine my abundance mindset over the money I staked on this election. They can't imagine it. Because to them, that would be the end of their life. Because every single dollar is a struggle to earn and to save. You got to save it. If you lose it, you can't get it back. A lot of middle class mindsets based on fear. Middle class mindset might move a little bit past that, but middle class mindset is very often in fear state. Very often in fear state, right? And of course, poor people are. I mean, you can associate a lot of, but not entirely, a lot of financial success is based on consciousness. I say not all because there's a certain point where you stop caring about money. And so while you won't have poverty, you won't be the richest people because you stop being materialist. The light's making me angelic. I'm gonna stay there. I gotta stay behind that light. How do I do it? How do I do it? There you go. Make a little hat. So 4D makes the jump from a consciousness standpoint, let's say. 4D makes the jump towards believing that you can survive. You can take a risk. You can start that business, right? You can leave your day job that you hate for something different, even if you don't know the exact thing. I don't work with people in 3D consciousness. My clients range across 4D and the 5D. I work with people at the very bottom of 4D, and the very top of 4D, and in lower 5D. I don't work with people above that because those people would probably, I'm only lower 5D myself, I think. They would look for somebody different. They probably wouldn't look, I don't even know what they would look for. But for me, you have to have crossed the threshold from fear into courage. Even if, like, you still have a lot of fear, but you would have had to cross into that to even apply, to even decide to send me money. You would have had to hit lower 4D. That's just the way it is. You have to hit lower 4D. So, and that's where life gets good. Life gets good in 4D because then you start to realize that your life can improve. People in 3D don't think their life can improve that much. They might be in pride and they might be really, they might make more and more money. People in pride can be pretty rich, but they're not happy people. All my enemies are in 3D. I don't have any 4D enemies. I have 0 4D enemies because a 4D person would never attack me because they've crossed the point of actually caring about that stuff. But I have a lot of people in 3D at the level of pride who don't like me very much because they don't like that I don't give a fuck. So, and that's why I just block people who come at me with these things like, you have to give up. You can't. I see the fear stuff. I see the fear so quickly, and I'm just, at this point, get out of my field. Get out of my field. I have Salmon here. Salmon is going to stop them from doing anything to me. I have nothing to worry about. I'm protected. Protected by God, and most importantly, by Salmon. So, it's so as you move up to 4D, you get more and more power, and like you could say kind of, from a consciousness standpoint, the pursuit of like money and enterprise, you start to get that in the high 300s, right? Which would be upper mid 4D. And then you get the upper 4D and you just care about the pursuit of knowledge, right? And guys, your consciousness can change because I can tell you very quickly, I can tell you very honestly that when I was younger, up until I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, even maybe, but early 20s for sure. And it was a gradual process. I was a rationalist, 100%. I wanted to learn how to do everything. I wanted to just know information. I cared a lot about data. And I just don't really care anymore. I mean, I care, but when people start to get into like nitty gritty stuff, I kind of, I'm like, this doesn't matter. We already know the answer. Like, that's actually how I feel. I'm like, I don't really care about this. I already know the answer to it. And that's kind of weird for me because I know what I was like when I was younger. I had the memory of being like, I need to check all these logical boxes. And now it's just like, it's a waste of time. The truth is what the truth is. And that's a sign of 5D where like you just kind of know it. You've discerned it already. So what are you supposed to, I'm happy I have that training though because it helps you to be able to break down things. Like I try to break down why what is known in 5D is logically plausible or why it makes sense. Why is the most logical even. But the truth comes, it's like, okay, here's the truth. How do I explain the truth? It's not let me try to figure out the truth. You guys understand the difference? So 5D on a low level is very much about love. It's about love. Um, it's very happy. I don't. I haven't been sad in a very long time, guys. And I don't say it to brag because I used to be anxious all the time. Really, I used to be anxious all the time. But I had a couple days of being in like a little bit of malaise in early October after my trip because I'd come down from a very high point. Like I'm lower 5D. I'm still of this world. And I don't know that I'm going to go higher. I don't know how much higher I'll go, to be honest. I think that there's something to be said about there being caps on how high you can go. There's something to be said about it. So it's interesting though, guys. Everybody's going to be getting a big boost in consciousness though because of the way that the energy is moving. It's the way the energy is moving. And that's why more people are waking up. The highest consciousness people I know. Okay, so I'm going to use Hawkins terminology here. So if you guys don't know power versus force, I'll give you some basics on it. When you enter the upper bounds of 4D is rationality. So that would be your smartest sort of intellectual thinkers. When you go towards, I'll give you an example, by the way, of but so whatever. And so your biggest intellectual thinkers doesn't matter. I don't waste time on that. When you move in the 5D, you care more about love. You start to discern more from your heart than thinking from your head. And that's the lower 500s. Okay. As of the time of Hawkins writing the book, 5% of the world's population had hit 5D. That upper bound. 5% had hit 5D in the entire world. Then the next step beyond that, you go from love to joy. Now, so you asked me, who is the people I know that have the highest level of consciousness? I have met. That's actually great. That's actually great. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to steal that quote. Feelings don't care about your facts. Actually, it's true. And this is the way it works, guys. Because 3D is feelings. And then 4D is like facts don't care about your feelings, and then 5D's like feelings don't care about your facts. That's the way it always goes. The red pill is correct in 3D. It's becomes increasingly not relevant as time goes on. As you go higher in consciousness, it becomes less relevant. It's like it's true until it's no longer true. Like in a relationship, a lot of guys will make the mistake of being a bitch, and then they become, you know, tough super alpha. If then as your relationship gets higher, that behavior has to be left away again. And so it's one of these things of like taking a way of existing and then discarding it and then taking the way of existing again, but differently. Third position, okay? But you ask the highest vibration person I know, um, I guess I would say there's a woman who I trained under and was very actually very helpful in healing some pieces of my marriage. Um, she goes by the name of Raina. Her name's Lorraine Delir, and she's brilliant. She's brilliant, and you could say that she's hit what Hawkins would call joy, which is 540 level of consciousness. When you get to there, you're about the top. It's like I think it's 0.5% of the population gets there. She's not on Twitter. Half a percentage of she wouldn't be on Twitter. Doesn't give a fuck. Doesn't give a fuck about that stuff. She is incredible energy. Incredible energy. I don't know anybody above that, but to be fair, they do. But those are the people you're looking at, like literally less than 20 people in the world when you go to these higher levels. It's like literally less than 20 people. It is an exponential curve. And as you get to the top point, and I have to be honest with you guys, I don't feel called to be higher vibration, a little bit higher than I am right now, a little bit, but I don't feel called to be higher than what I'm at for the most part. There's things I have to do to deal with my body in the coming years, and I understand that. And I will continue to deepen my spiritual practice, but I am not going to become a Buddha. I know that it's not my calling. I am pulled into engagement on this plane. I think Jay Campbell is certainly above 450. He's from the same kind of area as I am. We're all on this kind of journey. Like Jay will tell his story himself, and he'll tell you about how his progression from various levels of consciousness upwards. Um, Jay's super smart, and super. Like everybody has. Like I think that people have gotten some spats with Jay because Jay can have a temper, and he's aware of that. But the reality is that doesn't matter. I mean, Jay has so much love for people. He's so much love. He's got a lot of masculine energy. So masculine energy can very often be very fiery and can blast out at you. So let me see this stuff here. Yeah, I think he's gonna unfortunately release it in early January, but I think it'll still be good. So the last question I'm gonna answer, guys, I gotta run for dinner. Last question I'm gonna answer is the Christmas star alignment. So as you guys know, this is the same sort of alignment that happened at the time of Jesus's birth. And you're going to have Jupiter and Saturn overlapping with each other. And it's going to be a very bright star. And guys, I look up every night in the sky and I see them getting closer and closer, and it's a reminder of what's coming. It's going to be a massive energy wave. But here's the thing. Do not feel this energy wave. Don't put expectations on it. That's what I mean. Don't put expectations on it. Just simply enjoy it. If you can, I would take an hour and I would really just take it to yourself, be out at, it's cold, but if you're not out in nature, just be by yourself and pray, meditate, send energy, really try to connect. You're going to have a very, very clear channel on the 21st. And if I am not in the process of delivering a baby, I will be doing that as well. So I don't know. My daughter might want to come on the 21st, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But it's going to be a very powerful day, guys. It's gonna be a very powerful day. But don't put expectations like this crazy stuff is going to happen to me. It only happens. That's a very mental construct. And when you're in your head trying to, think this should happen, then you lose it. It's just a matter of feeling. Just feel like I want to connect with the energy. Don't say, I want the energy to do this for me. That's reptilian brain. I want to connect with the energy. Very, very different. Very, very different. Um, Kanye is 5D. Yeah. Donald's definitely 5D. Donald's definitely 5D. Donald's low 5D. He's low 5D. If you go higher, you stop caring about the material world. Like I care what happens on Earth. I want this place to be a place of love and abundance, and I want great systems, and I want people to have fun, and I want progress. But guys, I am engaged in what happens here, and I know that. And some people, this is a really important point. I got to say this before I leave. There's so many spiritual people. I got a great email for you guys in 2 days. I wrote 3 emails today, so the first one came out. 2 more on my list coming out. The third one though talks a little bit about this. The spirituality community, man. I mean, it's just these people who are so unbelievably, they're avoidant. They don't want to even focus on what. How do I put this? They consider it a virtue to not give a fuck about anything in this world. And it's like, hey guys, guess what? You came here. You came here. So unless you are someone of substantial power in which you would never be making these comments about just detach, don't care about it. That's an avoidance pattern. You would be engaged in this stuff. I came down here to fight. I came down here to fight differently, but I came down here to fight. Trump came down here to fight. I have a real enjoyment of life. I don't have any desire to leave this plane. When I'm supposed to die, I'll die, and that's okay. I'm at peace with that. But I'm also at peace with being here. I'm not trying to get out. Some people are like, this place is so bad. I just want to leave. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do anything. Then fucking do it. You're useless. Better though to deal with your problems. It'd be much better if you just dealt with your fucking problems and actually contributed to trying to make this a better place. Because if you believe any of this stuff, your soul decided to come here. It decided to incarnate and experience this density. And so we can change it. No, I care about what happens on Earth. I don't want to sit in a fucking hut, in the woods and not do anything. I'll go on a retreat in the woods to get closer to God, but then I got to come back. I got to bring that into the world. I can't just like hang out there and, there are some people who are called to do that, but they're a lot less than you would believe. Most people just doing that are afraid. That's what they are. They're afraid, guys. So, my friends, we will continue. Yeah, well, last thing I'll just say, yes, cut people off who drain your energy. No, Trump isn't a Buddhist, but you know, there are elements of Buddhism that are relevant to all this stuff, but not the entire thing necessarily. But yeah, cut off people who are draining your energy. It's not worth it. At this point, they're gonna wake up when they wake up. Cut them off. I will see you guys. We have dating relationship Periscope tomorrow, and then probably see you guys on Wednesday. So I think we'll have some big stuff by then. All right, I'll see you.